When my brother sold my broken laptop for $800, I didn't yell. I didn't scream when he joked about it over dinner, or when my mother said, "You've always been too secretive anyway." I just sat there, because what they didn't know, what they never cared enough to ask, was that the laptop they threw away held federal infrastructure maps protected by encrypted protocols I helped build. And in that moment, I realized something colder than betrayal. They never once believed I was important enough to matter. My name is Ardelia Whitcomb, and what my family tossed into the hands of a stranger could dismantle a nation. The train hummed beneath me, a low, constant vibration that matched the dull ache pulsing at the base of my skull. The sky outside had fallen into that soft, grim shade of winter dusk, neither light nor dark, just gray, a kind of in-between. Like the reason I was on this train in the first place. I unlocked my phone to check a follow-up from the office, maybe distract myself with protocol or charts. Instead, a message blinked on the screen, and everything else vanished. "Sold your old laptop from the attic. Looked dead. Some guy paid $800. You're welcome." My thumb hovered, then tapped. "What laptop?" Caleb replied fast, like it wasn't even worth thinking about. "The old black one. You left it years ago." I froze. No. He didn't. My hand clenched around the armrest. My heart started pounding in rhythm with the train tracks beneath me. He couldn't have meant that laptop, not the one with the triple-layer encryption, not the one that contained Keystone Vault Grid pathways, critical vulnerability maps, access schematics, and internal communication redundancies, not the one that wasn't even supposed to exist outside of the federal environment. I'd only brought it home once, quietly, after my knee surgery, while I recovered on the second floor of my mother's house, in a bedroom no one used anymore. A child darted down the aisle. His mother called after him, half laughing, half scolding. I gave a tight nod as she apologized, though I barely registered her voice. I tapped the DOE's internal emergency channel. My voice was flat. Code red. Device ID WHC4289. Possible external breach. Immediate trace required. The house hadn't changed. The small lawn out front was trimmed too short, the edges crisp like Caleb's sense of pride. Inside, the same crooked painting of peonies still hung in the hallway, one corner slipping from its nail. My mother stood at the stove, stirring something that smelled like nostalgia. Caleb was at the kitchen table, phone in hand, grinning as he scrolled through Marketplace. $800, he said proudly. For that junky old thing. Guy drove all the way from Bloomington. You should be thanking me, Ardelia. I didn't answer. I just stared at the picture on his screen, a Dell XPS. The faded DOE sticker still visible under the glare of the flash. 4289. I could read it even through the blur. My mother turned, wiping her hands on her apron. "Oh, don't be dramatic. You left it there nearly 10 years. We were just clearing space." Clearing space. My entire life. They've been clearing space, for everything except me. I stepped out of the kitchen, pulled my phone from my pocket, and switched it into secure mode. My voice stayed calm. "Director Vaughn, this is Whitcomb. The encrypted unit's been sold on the open market, requesting an immediate trace." 15 minutes later, a message returned. The device pinged an external server, VPN masked, unknown location, connection terminated. I called the regional field line. "Get me FBI liaison Beckett." An hour later, I was standing in the filthy apartment of Eli Harrow, surrounded by burnt solder and wires. When I showed him the picture, he smirked. "Yeah, that one. Sold it already. Some guy in Pennsylvania? Cash deal." "Do you have his name?" I asked. He shrugged. "Didn't ask." The stench of melted plastic filled the silence between us. The drive back was silent, except for the hiss of the highway. At a rest stop outside Columbus, I opened my personal laptop, linked into Vault ShadowNet, the sublayer surveillance grid for passive intrusion mapping. The moment the console loaded, a signature scrolled across the screen like a ghost leaving its mark. Drow, Echo, 19. I froze. Drake Rowan. A name I hadn't said aloud in years. He'd served under me in a defense cyber unit. Brilliant, reckless, and ungovernable. He'd hacked our own firewall during a live exercise, claiming he wanted to prove how easy it was to break in. I defended him once. I shouldn't have. He was discharged. I was reassigned. That was the trade. And now his code, his signature, was on my missing device. I remembered his voice like static in my ear during those late-night drills. The only thing safer than the truth, Captain, is making sure no one knows how to find it. He'd meant it as philosophy. It had become prophecy. I reported the finding immediately, my pulse tight, the car engine idling in the background. But when the reply came from DOE headquarters, it wasn't the reassurance I expected. We'll handle the investigation internally. Effective immediately. Your federal clearance is suspended pending review. Suspended? By the same system I helped build. The same system that still carried my name in its source code. The call disconnected, leaving only the hum of the road and the soft click of the hazard lights. Family, career, two pillars I'd spent my life holding up. And now, both were collapsing, quietly, at once. I didn't notify the FBI, didn't loop in Vaughn. I left a single line on the internal system and disappeared into the night. Keystone 4289 may be active near Nevada. I drove 14 hours straight, crossing the edge of Arizona, chasing a trail that had nearly gone cold, except for one last BIOS ping, buried deep inside a failsafe I had built years ago. An automatic reflex signal, a digital scream for help when the device was moved inappropriately. Eureka, Nevada. The kind of town where secrets go to die. Wind howled against the rusted sign. ENH Custom Electronics. The door was cracked open, no lock. I stepped inside, Glock drawn. The air stank of burned metal and sold air. In the center of the room, my laptop sat on the workbench, open, humming, alive. No one was visible. Then, creak, a soft door hinge behind me. Still walk like a soldier. But your left step slower, knee never healed? I turned. Drake Rowan, thinner, eyes darker, still the same way of seeing everything in you before you even speak. You accessed it, I said. Only the surface layer, he replied. I wanted them to know someone touched it. They needed a trail. He hadn't sold the data. He'd activated the device on purpose, not to expose secrets, but to expose who had already been digging. Keystone's been leaking for 9 months, he said. Not from the outside. From the inside. You think I'm the criminal? Whitcomb. But what if you're guarding the real thieves? We circled each other like two old predators. Me holding a gun. Him holding the truth. Both of us holding old scars we never spoke of. He reached into his jacket and placed a flash drive on the table. That's what I pulled. Raw logs, dates, access points, internal traffic, all pointing one direction. I stepped forward to grab it. He stepped back. I'll give it to you, but only if we work together, just like old times. I stopped at a motel 20 miles outside of town, sat in the dark with only the laptop light bouncing off the walls. I loaded the flash drive. Drake's logs were clean, too clean. Timestamps, access patterns, metadata trails. Then one line hit me like a fist, an IP block traced to my department, but not to me. I ran the terminal ID, Assistant Director Mendez, the same man who wrote in my last performance review, overcautious, not adaptable enough to evolving challenges. So that's how they were playing it. Sell the data, blame the woman who lost the hardware. Technical elimination, dressed in protocol. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. I didn't call Vaughn. I didn't call Drake. I called home, just to hear someone familiar. Caleb picked up. His voice was tight. What the hell are you doing? Mom's been crying all night. Can you stop thinking about your job for once and think about your family? I gripped the wheel with one hand, felt the dust coming in through the cracked window. It smelled like metal and failure. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the old marketplace post from Caleb. There it was, the photo, my laptop, front and center, and in the corner of the image, the DOE sticker, Serial code, QR tag, all clear, all scannable. Twist of the knife. Anyone with a phone could have verified the device belonged to the government. That alone could trigger Section 641, unauthorized disclosure of federal property. If the FBI wanted, they could charge my brother. Back at the repair shop, Drake was reconfiguring the power leads. "We're running out of time," he said without looking up. "They'll trace us soon." I laid my hand flat on the bench, staring down at the laptop screen blinking blue. "Then we trace them faster." We sat in a darkened garage behind an abandoned repair shop on the outskirts of Fallon, Nevada. Dust hung in the air like ash. Drake worked silently beside me, his fingers dancing across a tangle of boards and cables. He was split-streaming the BIOS signal, faking location data to buy us time. Meanwhile, I was gambling with the last thing I had left, my integrity. He paused, eyes narrowing. "Got something." A new string of data unspooled across the screen. Encrypted traffic routed from the inside. "Mendez wasn't working alone," he muttered. "There's a second access log. Clean, covered, but not invisible. Linda O'Rourke, senior network architect, my friend, my confidant, someone who once stood by me when no one else did. And now, she'd left a back door wide open, either from greed, pressure, or fear. Either way, I knew what that meant. She believed in me once. Now she's helping them burn it down. The BIOS ping would draw DOE and FBI here soon. We had minutes. "You could hand me in," Drake said. "They'll spare you. Yeah, or we burn the trail together." I replied. I accessed the secure deadhand channel, a deep access failsafe I'd coded and hidden years ago. "You still had access?" he asked. "They forgot who built this system. I never forget my exits." We created the dump file, encrypted, signed, time-stamped. Then we split it. One copy to the FBI's secure intake, the other to the DOE's Inspector General. The fuse was lit. We hit Route 278 before dawn. The desert stretched wide and silent. Drake clutched the drive to his chest, blood darkening his sleeve from a shallow cut earned the night before. I kept my eyes on the horizon, and the blockade that finally appeared just past a bend near Eureka. FBI units, unmarked SUVs, guns out. "They'll shoot if I run," he said. I gripped the wheel, heart steady. "Then we don't run. We drive straight through. Let's go home." We accelerated. Tires screamed. Sirens flared. Commands echoed from loudspeakers. "Step out of the vehicle. Hands in the air." We didn't stop. Twist, at 70 miles per hour. Drake hit send on the auto-split protocol. 2 servers received the encrypted file at once. Then, chaos. He was hit in the shoulder. I was pulled from the driver's seat, slammed onto asphalt. The laptop slipped from my coat. It blinked once, still alive. The screen lit up. Self-destruct encryption? YN. I didn't hesitate. Why? Gone. Every fragment of Keystone Vault's data, incinerated by its own code. No one could use it now. Not the traitors. Not even me. Later, in an open-air tent under FBI custody, an agent leaned close and said, "You realize this could end your career." I looked up, voice calm. "Careers rebuild. National security doesn't." They kept me in a federal holding site just outside Carson City for 3 days. No charges filed, no legal counsel offered. Just cold rooms, cold lights, and colder questions, all from people who used to call me colleague. On the 4th day, Director Vaughn arrived. He didn't enter the room, just stood behind the two-way glass, arms folded. "Why did you destroy the laptop, Ardelia?" I didn't flinch. Because the data had become more dangerous than useful. It was no longer about protection. It was about power. He didn't reply. Instead, he slid a report envelope onto the table. "OIG has opened a formal investigation on Mendez. Drake's logs line up with our own anomalies. You may be right." Twist. There was no press release, no medal, no public apology. Just one email a week later. Subject: Clearance reinstated. From Director Vaughn Body. You didn't fail the vault. You protected it by becoming one. I returned to Indiana without ceremony. My mother met me in the backyard. She didn't say a word, just poured 2 cups of tea and sat beside me. We stared into the trees like veterans who'd both seen too much. Caleb arrived quietly, placed a small envelope on the table. $800. I shouldn't have taken that deal. I looked at his hands. They were trembling, not from fear, but from shame. It's not the money, I said. It's the silence that followed. You all watched me drown and thought I'd figure it out alone. 2 months later, I returned to Washington. No motorcade, no formal escort, just me and a satchel full of code. I was there to present a recovery plan for national grid security. And this time, I didn't need clearance to speak. I stepped into the room where I had once stood invisible, surrounded by suits that had never learned to listen, and I gave them what they didn't expect. The Whitcomb Protocol, a system designed not just to encrypt, but to remember. It tracked every access point, logged every layer of authorization, flagged repeat attempts with ethical inconsistencies. It didn't just ask who accessed the vault. It asked why, and whether they should ever be allowed in again. In the hearing chamber, Mendez appeared like a hollow statue, still suited, still composed, but with nothing behind the eyes. His silence was broken only by the sound of evidence. Drake's logs, my forensic overlays, financial records showing Mendez had sold Keystone credentials to a multinational energy firm in exchange for shadow equity. The room froze. No one looked at him. They only looked at me. I said one sentence. The vault wasn't broken by hackers. It was betrayed from within. Twist. Drake didn't come. But the FBI played a pre-recorded video, the last message he left before disappearing off the grid. He sat in a dark room, backlit by old code on a screen. Whitcomb believed in systems. I believed in breaking them. Turns out, the only way to fix a broken system is to put a better person inside. No applause followed, just a quiet nod from Vaughn, and a single line at the bottom of a formal reinstatement letter. Title: Deputy Chief of Cyber Defense. Name: Ardelia Whitcomb. For the first time. I wasn't a ghost in my own agency. It was late Sunday afternoon when the letter arrived. A soft knock at my door. A junior assistant handing it over with a curious glance, as if handwritten mail in this building was a violation of protocol. It was from my mother. The envelope was plain, cream-colored, folded crisply like she used to fold grocery lists. Inside, one short message, penned in delicate, wavering script. We cleaned the attic again. This time, we didn't throw anything away, especially not what we didn't understand. I held the letter for a while before setting it down. Across from me, the main monitor glowed with the newest schematic of the vault's layered encryption. The lines were clean, overlapping, breathing like a living organism. A system that didn't just defend, but learned, tracked, remembered. At the base of the screen was my badge, Deputy Chief of Cyber Defense. Next to it, the sealed Class Phi containment unit, a black box. The laptop, labeled with one small placard in brushed titanium, Whitcomb 01. I hadn't asked them to name it that. I hadn't wanted them to, but someone had. I turned slightly toward the window. Outside, the sky had the same tone as the day I left Indiana, but somehow it felt gentler now. Sunlight filtered through the blinds in long, angled streaks, cutting across the room in silence. I thought of what I had sacrificed, of what I almost lost, of everything that had slipped through cracks, and the few things that, against all odds, stayed. Not because I held on tighter, but because I chose what to let go of, and what to guard, with silence, fire, and faith. Some vaults, I murmured, aren't made of steel. They're made of memory, and mine was built the day my family sold it, and I chose to protect it anyway.